Hey everyone, and welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Ooh, it's good to be back.
You know, we've been getting a ton of messages from you guys about mental health.
Yeah, it is fascinating how much more people are talking about mental health these days.
It's like everyone's finally realizing.
Like, it's just as important as physical health.
Totally.
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy? It's so easy to miss the signs of mental illness, especially compared to like a broken leg or something.
You can't see anxiety on an x-ray.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And then think about all the adults just running around stressed out of their minds.
So many people are saying it's just so easy to miss the signs.
Especially in kids.
Yeah, especially with kids.
Like, is your kid just being moody, or is it something deeper?
Is it just a phase?
And here's where things get kind of scary, okay?
Yep.
Some of our sources are saying there are people out there who actually try to take advantage of others who are struggling with their mental health.
That's messed up.
It's like they're exploiting that vulnerability.
It's true.
It's messed up. It's like if you see someone with a broken leg, you're going to help them.
Of course.
But if someone's battling depression, it's like harder to know.
You don't know how to help.
How to help.
Right.
And some people actually try to use that to their advantage.
They prey on people who are feeling vulnerable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're diving deep into this whole mental health thing today.
Let's do it.
We're going to unpack some real-life examples, look at both sides of the issue, and try to figure out what is going on.
All right, let's unpack it.
And just a reminder, we are not therapists or anything.
Not at all.
We're just two friends trying to make sense of it all.
Trying to figure it out.
If you're struggling with your own mental health stuff,
please
reach out to a professional.
Yes, there's no shame in getting help.
Okay, so let's unpack this mental health puzzle.
Okay.
One thing that keeps coming up is how much mental health gets overlooked, especially in kids. It's like sometimes even parents and teachers don't recognize the signs.
It's tough, right? Kids don't always have the words to explain how they're feeling, so they might act out or withdraw, and it's easy to just brush it off as kids being kids.
Exactly. And the thing is, there's been this huge push globally to improve mental health resources.
Which is
amazing. More schools and companies are adding mental health support.
Yeah, that's great.
And there are even some policy changes to promote awareness.
I love to see it.
There are organizations like You Matter out there really fighting for this.
Shout out to You Matter.
But it still feels like we're playing catch up.
Definitely.
Especially in low-income communities.
It's special.
Yeah, it's like some areas are getting all the resources while others are
getting left behind. For sure.
And even when there are resources available, there's this whole debate about whether we're diagnosing mental illness too quickly.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Like, when is it just normal stress and when does it become something more serious?
It's like, are we too quick to label everything as a disorder?
Yeah.
And then what happens if someone gets diagnosed too quickly?
Like, imagine...
Especially with medication.
Yeah. Imagine being told you have a mental illness.
Right.
When it might just be a normal reaction to a stressful situation.
Yeah, it could just be you're reacting to something.
I would freak out.
That would make me more anxious about my mental health.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then there's the stigma. People might avoid seeking help because they're afraid of being judged or labeled.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. But then again, a proper diagnosis can be incredibly helpful.
Oh, for sure.
Mental health professionals spend years.
They go to school for so long.
Learning how to identify and treat all sorts of mental illnesses.
They're like mental health detectives.
Exactly. They can help you understand what's going on and connect you with the right treatment.
You can.
They can.
That's right.
But there's always that risk of overdiagnosis, especially when the lines are blurry.
It's a tricky balance for sure.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then you add cultural differences into the mix and things get even more complicated.
Oh, absolutely. The way mental health is viewed and treated can be totally different depending on where you are in the world.
Right. Like in the West, it's all about therapy and talking things out. Go to therapy. Spill your guts. Analyze everything. But in the East,
It's a different vibe.
It's more about meditation.
Yeah.
And finding inner peace.
Finding your zen.
Two totally different approaches.
And neither one is necessarily better or worse. It's about finding what works for the individual.
So true. Okay, so we've talked about how mental health is often overlooked and how tricky diagnoses can be, but what about medication? That's a topic that comes up a lot in our listener messages.
For sure.
On the one hand, medications can be lifesavers.
Totally. Think about antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds.
Right. They can help people manage their symptoms and get back to living their lives.
Absolutely.
But then there are the side effects.
Yeah, those pesky side effects.
Which can be a real drag.
Weight gain, insomnia, I've even heard of some meds that can cause even more serious problems.
Exactly, and that can make it hard for people to stick to their treatment.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole addiction issue.
Ooh, that's a whole other can of worms.
So it's like medications can be amazing.
Yes.
But they're not without their risks.
That's right.
And some people are saying that alternative therapies like therapy, exercise, and meditation can be just as effective as meds.
Definitely.
Especially for milder cases.
There's definitely growing evidence to support that.
But for more severe mental illnesses, medication might be the only option to stabilize someone's health.
It's a complex issue, for sure.
It's a complex issue for sure.
Yes.
And you know what else can be tricky?
What's that?
The whole cult thing.
Whoa.
How do you tell the difference between a genuine spiritual group and one that might be harmful?
You're going deep. This is a super sensitive topic. And it's easy to throw around the word cult without really understanding what it means.
Exactly. But there are groups out there that manipulate and exploit people.
That's true.
And we can't ignore that.
No, we can't.
They might isolate their members,
Yeah.
use mind control tactics, and even force them to give up everything they have.
It's true.
Jonestown is a horrifying example of how dangerous things can get.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder of how important critical thinking is.
Do your research.
Don't just blindly follow anyone.
If something feels off,
Trust your gut.
it probably is.
Yes, it probably is. Cults can be so deceptive.
It's like they create this whole alternate reality.
Yeah.
Where everything makes sense and the leader has all the answers.
And they use all sorts of psychological techniques to control their members.
Like what?
Oh, like isolation, sleep
Yeah.
deprivation,
Oh, wow.
constant reinforcement of the group's ideology.
That is scary stuff.
Yeah.
And once you're in, it can be really hard to break free.
It can be really hard.
They might threaten you, your family, or make you feel like you're betraying everything you believe in.
Like they hijacked your whole sense of self.
And the thing is, cults can pop up anywhere.
Mhm.
It's not just those stereotypical fringe groups
It's not just the documentaries.
we see in documentaries, right?
Yeah, they can be religious groups, self-help organizations,
Right.
even businesses.
Businesses.
Think about it.
That's wild.
You have a charismatic leader,
Okay.
a group of devoted followers,
Yeah.
and a system of beliefs that dictates every aspect of your life.
That sounds like a lot of companies I know.
Sounds familiar, right?
Okay, that's a good point. But how do you tell the difference between a demanding boss and a full-blown cult leader?
Well, there are some key differences.
Okay.
In a healthy workplace, you're encouraged to think critically
Right.
and offer your own ideas.
Right.
In a cult, dissent is not tolerated.
Oh, interesting.
You're expected to follow the leader without question.
Makes sense.
And in a normal job, you have a life outside of work.
You would hope so.
You can spend time with family and friends, pursue your own hobbies. In a cult, your entire life revolves around the group.
So it's all about control.
It is all about control.
Cults want to control your thoughts, your actions, your relationships, finances, everything.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling pressure to give up your personal life, your money, or your critical thinking skills,
Those are huge red flags.
those are huge red flags. If you start feeling like you can't leave the group or that something's not quite right,
Trust your gut.
trust your gut.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
This whole mental health thing is so complex. We've barely scratched the surface, but I feel like we've learned so much.
I know, me too. It's been a real eye-opener.
Okay, so we talked about overlooked mental illnesses, tricky diagnoses, the pros and cons of medication, and the dangers of cults.
That's a lot.
That's a lot to digest.
It is a lot.
Hopefully our deep dive has given you some food for thought
For sure.
and encouraged you to prioritize your own mental well-being.
Definitely.
And remember, folks, we are not experts.
Not even close.
Just two friends having a conversation
Yeah, just chatting.
and trying to make sense of the world.
Trying to figure it out.
If you are struggling with your own mental health stuff, please reach out to a professional.
Yeah, please do.
There is help available, and you don't have to go through it alone.
There's always someone out there to help.
All right, folks, that's a wrap for today.
Yes.
Until then, stay curious,
Stay informed.
and most importantly, stay healthy.
See you next time.
I just want to give another shout out to Micky from Mickytolife. His channel is a treasure trove of inspiration, and he's a huge Sip&Talk fan.
Absolutely. Make sure to check him out and maybe even share your awesome podcast intro with him once you've created it.